doing,
the one on stage.
yeah. I'm doing excellently well, thank you. Man,
It's good to hear.
good. Can't believe this is into already. Ah, so interesting. Yeah, we're back, man. We're back.
It's been like 2 months where we've been together this week compared to
Yeah,
last year.
yes, it was quite a break. It was quite a break, but I mean, been busy with some other side, some other projects, and you know, thank God for everything, man. Thank God for life. We're alive.
Yeah, thank God. It's been a while.
Yeah, it was. Thank you. So, how's the break been? What have you been up to? Let's gist our people. What we've been up to.
You know, the usual, continuous learning. It's been, you know, delving into APIs and web packages, like, trying to brush up my techniques and skill set and a little bit of machine learning and LLM training as well. So that's pretty much what I've been up to.
Yeah, you've been up to a lot of things. Yeah, guys, congratulate Habib. Habib just got a new set. So congratulations, man.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ah,
Thank you.
yeah, and
How about yourself?
I mean, I've been doing a lot of office work. That's just the summary, right? I
Okay.
think
That's good.
um for me, right, I enjoy the thrill, the whole energy of working at a startup, right? Like Cyberpura, like just a lot of interesting stuff, like a lot of interesting projects, some of which at the right time is going to get online and our audience are going to see it. But these are projects that I'm pretty much excited about, and I'm just looking forward to when we are going to have them being published and available to everybody. And I believe it's going to be worth my time. It's going to be worth everybody's time and the efforts that we've put in so far. And yeah, also like a couple of interesting pen tests, right? We've worked on a couple of like very interesting pen tests. You know, those kind of pen tests that when you think you've seen it all, some engagement just tells you, hold on, bro. I got more for you.
Exactly.
I got more
My
for
first
you.
engagement was pretty fun. I learned a lot.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you did as well.
yeah.
Attack surface services.
Yes, so guys, Abiba has been hacking like crazy, like some crazy exploits. Even me, now, I'm scared of Abib. I don't trust him anymore.
I'm still, learning day after day, but I appreciate that. And of course, you've been in this for a year and a half longer than him, so of course, respect to you as well.
Yeah, actually, I'm getting old in this job. Actually, this is my getting close to 4 years now. Wow, how time
That's
flies.
crazy. You're
Yes,
almost there, man. You're
really.
approaching that.
Nah, I'm still a script kiddie. Oh. I'm still a script kiddie, man. I'm still a script kiddie, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
pen testing humbles like most of us, or even cybersecurity in general.
yeah,
It's continuous learning day after day in, day out, and new things that open up, and you realize, oh, I'm doing something else that's exciting.
yeah, very well said, man.
Yes.
Very well said. I mean, it can't be truer than what you said. Right? I mean, like one of the things one of the goal for this Hack Wednesday is we try to be as honest with our what is it called, with our audience. We try to be as honest with them as possible, right? I mean, like there've been a few engagements that you're just like, nah, I need to I need to work on my skills.
Or
Like,
yeah,
I need to work more on myself. And yeah, I mean, there are those painters that are like, nah, I'm the king of the hill.
yeah. Those are the pros and cons of offensive security, I would say. Some engagements you're like, oh, this is exciting and all all that. You're finding vulnerabilities left and right, and you're feeling yourself, and then you
Yeah,
get to a
man.
point that humble you, and you're like, okay, I think I need to work harder and more on my
Mhm.
techniques, and as well as for defense, exploits, and attack vectors as well.
Yeah, man. I totally agree with that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I mean, we have a few persons, right? Hi, Emeka. Good evening, and Adeoluwa. Yeah, good evening.
Hey, Emeka and Ademuwa, hope you guys are doing well.
I hope you guys can hear us. Please let us know in the comment section. And yeah, I also want to mention we're actually getting pretty good at this YouTube streaming thing. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
we are. It's improvements we're improving gradually. So that's a good thing.
yeah,
Going
man.
to the right direction.
Yeah, true, true. So yeah, I think we should just get to the job. So I'm trying to go to the beginning. So for this season, we are going to be working on API security, right? API, API, API. Everywhere you go right now, all you hear is API, API this, API that, API this, API that. And I'm just like, you guys should chill. This thing is not as complex as you guys are making it sound.
Yeah, you're right. And there's a lot of applications, mostly web applications or even websites that are API powered compared to a lot of modern applications these days. So I'm pretty excited about this season, and well, we're gonna discussing APIs and potentially seeing various types and techniques and how to exploit them.
Yeah, yeah, man. I'm also excited about what we can do, what we can get to do from this, right? And yeah, so a big shout out to Cyberpura for giving little boys like us the opportunity to do this with the company's YouTube channel, right? And this started like a little request, and here we are, season two, right? So big shout out to the management for the opportunity given to us. And just a quick one about what we do at Cyberpura. So Cyberpura is a managed security service provider. For those of you who don't know what that is, it means we do everything and anything security, from offensive security to your defensive security to governance, risk and compliance, whatever it is pertaining security. Cyberpura is the company you should contact, right? So give us more web application, give us more mobile application and networks, so me and Abid can keep enjoying ourselves.
Yeah, but most importantly, helping our customers, you know, test their security posture and improve it as well. So we would definitely be excited to have, you guys patronize us
Yeah,
at
man.
Cyberpura.
Yeah. Look forward to getting hearing from you guys, and yeah, feel free to go to our websites, cyberpura.com, right? And you could send us a mail, hello@cyberpura.com, and yeah, we'll be happy to help you out with any of your security requests. So, with that being said, with the marketing aspect being done, let's get to business. So, yeah, API record, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, to start, so I'm just going to read and then we discuss as is our flow. So, to start API testing, you first need to find out as much information about the APIs as possible to discover its attack surface, right? Oh, okay. So I just got a message that they can't hear you, Abib.
Okay.
So I'm just going to work on that real quick.
Sure. Okay.
All right, thank you, Adi, for bringing that to our attention. Please, can you confirm now if you can hear Abib? Abib, please just try to say something. Let's know if they can hear you.
Um, Is my voice audible now? Or
Yeah, I think you should just maybe you should read the first paragraph. Let's get a response from Ade.
okay, sure. So to start API testing, you first need to find out as much information about the API as possible to discover its attack surface. To begin, you should identify API endpoints. These are locations where an API receives requests about a specific resource on its server. For example, consider the following GET request: GET API slash hooks, and then we have the HTTP protocol type, which is one, and then the host, which is the server that hosts the API itself. In this case, it's example.com. So was that audible enough or
Yes, yes, he said he can. He just sent a message and he can hear you now. So I think we are good to go.
perfect? It's good
Yes.
to hear that. Yeah. All right. So let's get back in.
All right, thank you, Ade. So I'm just going to pick up from where you stopped. So the API endpoint for the request is API slash books. This results in an interaction with the API to retrieve a list of books from a library. Another API endpoint might be, for example, API slash book slash mystery, which would retrieve a list of mystery books. Okay, once you have identified the endpoints, you need to determine how to interact with them. This enables you to construct valid HTTP requests to test the API. For example, you should find an information about the following. One, the input data the API processes, including both compulsory and optional parameter. Two, the type of request the API accepts, including supported HTTP methods and media formats. And three, rate limits and authentication mechanism. Okay, so Habib, what do you have to say
Okay.
concerning
So
this part?
yeah, thanks. So before we go deeper into like this you know series or even like APIs itself for this material, I'd like to preface what an API is. So API basically stands for Application Programming Interface, and what it does is that it delivers a user's response to the system, and then it sends the system's response. So we can think of it in this real world case where you have uh, a waiter or a waitress at a restaurant, like at your local restaurant, and then you pay a visit, to get some meal, and then the waiter comes in and tells you, hey, Emmanuel, what would you like to order for you know on our menu? And then you're like, okay, you want shell fries or fried fries or whatever it is that you're interested in getting. And then the waiter or the waitress takes your order and then takes it to the back room where the chef is, and then they whip up or cook up your meal, and then the waitress or the waiter brings it back to you. So that is basically, or that is essentially how an API operates. So it takes a request, from you, which in this case you're the client, and then it sends it to the server to process. And once the server processes your request, it the API will send back the service request, service response back to you. So I think this is one way for us to get acquainted with what API is, so we don't get lost as we go deeper into the material. So I'll leave it to Manu to add to this, or you know share more light into what API is and how we can perform reconnaissance.
Yeah, very well explained, Habib. Right. I mean, you've broken it down in a very understandable manner, and it's really hard for me to answer what you've said, right? Because you made a lot of sense. I think one little thing I would like to chip in is Because I've seen a number of persons like on the internet asking some interesting questions about API, right? And I think like sometimes um, people overly try to explain what API is, or people in the process of trying to understand what API is, they just try to they end up confusing themselves. So why am I saying this, right? A good number of times, if you agree with me, right, if you know how to go about web attacks, right, you definitely will not struggle with API attacks because like somebody close to me used to say, he says API is just simply web application without user interface, right? If that makes sense, but that makes a lot of sense to me, right? Because if you check it,
Emmanuel,
right?
I think you're breaking up.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
sorry to
I
like,
can hear you.
yeah,
Can you hear me?
now it's better. Like breaking up. Yeah, now I can hear
Oh,
you.
okay. Yeah. So I said like a friend used to tell me back in the like days like when API was becoming most mainstream, right? I was like,
Yeah,
API is simply web application without user interface.
yeah, that actually makes
Yes.
sense. Yeah,
So yeah, because a lot of the vulnerabilities we tend to discover, right, in traditional web application, right, ends up at the same kind of vulnerabilities we end up looking for in API applications, in APIs, right? Just that most
yeah,
time they have different names. So let's say, for
hmm,
example, we have vulnerabilities like IDOR when it comes to web application, indirect object reference, right?
yeah,
Then in API they call it what is it called? They call it Bola, right?
yeah,
Right? It's just different names, like different names. Because at the
hmm,
end of the day, when it comes to, it's almost the same thing. If let's say you are testing a web application, sometimes you want to check what how a web application is going to react to you changing a request from get to post, right? Those are things we look at for. Same applies to APIs, right? You want to
yeah,
switch, okay, how is this application supposed to behave if I change the request method from get to post, right? Okay, how is this application going to behave if I put in some unexpected parameters? So yeah, I think if somebody has this in mind, right, it's going to help a lot of people like not overly think about API testing, because that's one thing I've noticed. Like some people just tend to make it look like, oh, it's just this complex thing, this totally extreme stuff that takes
yeah.
like a lot of energy to learn. But it's not that far fetched, in my own opinion.
Of course, yeah. That's very true. I agree with you. You know everything you just explained right now. So it's not pretty intricate or hard to get started with API testing. You know nowadays with the increase of web applications being powered by APIs, so I think it's actually uh, a specialization. I'd say that pen testers should. I would advise or even anyone you know interested in security research or bug bounty hunting to take a look into it. Okay.
Yeah, very well said, man. Very well said. Because almost like you said, almost everything is being powered now by APIs, right? And it's totally understandable why businesses tend to incline move more in that line, right? Because instead of building a web application, then having another team build an Android a mobile application. So one could be for Android, have another team, which is the third team, build another application which is the iOS application, right?
Yeah.
And you could just have like a team develop like the backend and everything, right? The backend API and everything, and then you could easily just use this for all these different platforms. So it saves organization a lot of stress, helps them save cost and those kind of things. So yeah, API is like one of the top skill I would advise. Any API testing is definitely one thing I would advise anybody to get
For sure. For sure.
should have in
Nail right on the head.
their skill sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the first paragraph in this what we read was also spoke about it said to test it to start API testing. The first you first need to find out as much information about the API as possible to discover its attack surface. Yeah, I think this speaks to the very basics of pen testing or offensive security or ethical hacking, whichever one you want to call it, right? Because like the popular saying goes, right? Recon is like the most one of the most important, if not the most important phase of a pen test, right? Because you can't test what you don't know, right? So the first
Exactly.
thing
Yeah.
somebody wants to do when it comes to API testing is to look for um, as much endpoint as possible, right? Try to identify
Mhm.
the API endpoint. If that is, I mean, this is us assuming that the API documentation is not being supplied, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
That's
and then you want to
so.
find
Yeah.
the last paragraph said you want to find out, for example, you should find out information about the following: the input data the API processes. So yeah, you want to know how the API is processing input. Okay, what is important, what is not important, right? These are some of the things we test for. Okay, so how does the system react when I send this request with all the parameter as against how the system reacts when I send a request with some parameters missing. So, what parameter is important? What parameter is not important? So, so because we are looking at having different, we expect to have a different group of audience, right? Beginner, seasoned pen testers, and you name it. So, I want to believe some persons might be asking, what do we mean by parameters? So,
Yeah.
Habib, do you want to attempt that? while
Yeah.
I
For sure.
while I think of how to explain it.
Okay. For sure. Okay. So parameters are basically this your special type of variable basically, and more specifically in programming. Uh, if I were to break it down, like, okay, what is a variable itself? So a variable is like a container when it comes to like in programming languages. So let's say you want to assign, you have a parameter called, or sorry, a variable called users, or sorry, user. So this variable, which is called user, is going to take the username, for example. So you so why I said that variables or containers is that the user parameter itself, you would say user equals, and you put the username. Let's say in this example, it's Emmanuel. So in this case, the user variable is storing the username called Emmanuel. So that is what a variable is. Then a parameter is a special type of variable that you would define or declare, in a function method or a subroutine, basically in programming. It's more like a placeholder. It's a special type of placeholder or container. So that's pretty much what a parameter is. And yeah, do you have anything you'd like to add to that, man?
Yeah. So I think in layman terms, like high level, very very high level, parameter is more like what the system is expecting, right? So let's say
Mm-hmm.
you are trying to log in into an application, right? So maybe parameter in the login endpoint could be username and password, right? And maybe if there's a remember me function, another parameter could be maybe the remember me logic, right?